Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to KPGR 88.1 FM, and today I'm joined in the studio with our weekly show, DJ Sketch. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Nothing better than hearing a little bit of Coldplay run over the top of a radio show.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that last song, or technically it was the last song, was Strawberry Swing by Coldplay. I decided actually update since our last show. We are no longer the name Opinionated. It was a test. It was a trial.
Right.
Back in the scrap bin. We're back to just the morning show. It was a experiment that was not by popular decision. Was not.
I did love that DJ Squints said, "Just do it."
Yeah.
And if you
I
don't
think,
like it, change it.
And that's exactly the right opinion. Because if I didn't, I'd still be sitting here asking people, going, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And then I realized after I did it for a week that I was like, I don't even like the name anymore. So we'll just have it back as a morning show.
It was hard to find on social media. I follow you.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what was the name of that show? Opinion.
Yeah.
I found it.
And it doesn't help that I have changed the name of the Instagram like 4 times.
Right.
So it'll be just back to the morning show.
I was only searching because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't wearing the same shirt.
Oh yeah.
Because I tend to do that. Like, I've got a weird routine. Like every Monday I shave.
Yeah.
You can tell what day of the week it is by how long my facial hair is.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I don't even know where I am. You just look up and you see, oh, Russ has a beard. It must be Friday.
Russ has a beard. It must be Friday. That's hilarious. Yeah. Weepy Boy texted in and said, thanks for showing up today, DJ Sketch. Yes, thank you for showing up today.
Yes, Weepy Boy.
Weepy Boy, our number one fan. So today I wanted to ask you, obviously, if you want to show the camera, actually, you've been working on a sculpture. How long did that one take you?
This is about an hour and 15, 20 minutes.
Which is incredibly impressive, because I remember we went to that sculpting, whatever you call it. I don't know what to call it.
Alpine Art Center.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of professional sculptors who somehow let me into their realm.
Yeah.
And then somehow I was able to get you
exactly.
to go.
Yeah.
And since then, they've been enchanted by DJ Shades.
Yeah.
Like, you have a radio show?
Yeah.
And you're into sculpting and art. And you're 17 years old? What is this?
Yeah, no, it was funny. But so that is incredibly impressive. You obviously, how long have you been sculpting for? Because I remember it was like last year when I started seeing like in the film festival that you had been doing it at home and you had like taken some photos and stuff and put it in the film festival.
So I had some clay from a class that I took in 2020 during the pandemic where they actually let us go to the university and work. And that's when I really first got back into it. I did it when I was just out of high school. Oh,
so you have been doing it for a very long time. You just recently like got back into it.
Yeah, well, kind of. Like right out of high school, I took a class and we sculpted and I bought some clay and I thought, oh, this is fun. And then I never did it again.
Oh, okay, I see.
Until 2020. So to give a little perspective, I graduated in 1998. So I'm almost dead. Yeah. And it was pretty fun to get back into it. But the invitation was given saying on Tuesday nights, there's a sculpture class. Not even a class, just a group of people who get together. And everyone there is like a total professional.
Yeah.
And I walked in and just a total poser. I didn't have any clay. Really, I didn't have much of anything. So I just drew on my iPad the first day. Like, no, I'm just working here as an artist.
Yeah.
And then they gave me clay because they felt bad for me. And I used the trick of, yes.
Again, there it is, sorry.
But they felt bad for me, gave me a bunch of clay, and used a trick. And I think this trick is valuable for anybody trying to break into something. And if you feel dumb being the worst in the room, stand up and announce it. So I walked in and I was just looking at everybody's stuff and I was like, you guys are so good. I am the worst. And I'm so excited to be the worst in the room. I'm going to learn from all of you guys.
Yeah.
And it helped out a lot because it took away that feeling of you walking in and being like, yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's something I tend to say to my friends is lower expectations and then exceed those expectations. And then you'll always be like, you know what I mean? If you go in and set the bar low and then exceed it, if you suck at it, you'll actually appear better than they thought because they thought you were going to be worse than you were.
Okay, I can see where that's going. But
That being
also,
said, don't shoot for like you go where you're going to go with it.
Yeah, no, I see the way that you work.
Yeah.
And I see what you're saying, and you say like set your expectations low, but
Yeah.
everything you do, I don't see a low bar.
Well, set your expectations low for others. Yourself, obviously shoot for the moon. Like don't set it low and then be like, well, I already said I was not going to do good, so that sucks. Obviously, shoot high. And
Well, I said I was going to get a D- in health. So I ate a whole tub of mayonnaise.
Yeah. Did you see actually on the TVs recently, in the TVs out here, there was
Yes,
I saw that walking in the
yes, I
halls
did.
and I died. That one was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, no, that one was funny. Is it? I'm assuming we had to take it down because it didn't.
Yeah, it's one of those hard things because I saw it and I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But then I started to think, oh, this is the beginning of memes on the
Right,
school TVs
right.
and possible like attacking of certain people.
Sure.
I was like, oh shoot, we
Yeah,
gotta nip this in the bud. Yes, yes.
For the life
yes.
of me, can't rest my arm without pressing play on this computer. Just gonna leave this
Coldplay
arm down.
just
Coldplay
wants to
always
break through.
Coldplay will break in no matter what happens.
There's no breaking Coldplay from the late 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
2010s, and they're still hitting it.
Still coming back in. Anyway, so you've obviously been sculpting for a while and drawing for a while, or at least comparatively to most people, as far as like you've
for
spent.
the length of
Yeah.
life that I've had compared to the average person.
I mean, as far as like you've put years into it, right?
Yeah.
And specifically drawing, you've put years and years and years into it. How would you recommend people in high school? Would you recommend that they pursue things that they're currently interested in, like that, like passion projects, or would you say they pursue things that make the money first and then get those passion projects later?
Ooh, all right, getting right into that.
Well, this is just things I've been thinking about, especially me being graduating soon. So
right.
I figured I'd ask.
I've found that like most everything that I've ended up making money off of that's outside of the realm of teaching has developed from pursuing the passions that I like: drawing, painting, sculpting, making videos. All those things. If you really love something, you're going to put that time into it.
Right.
And this is not new news, but like if you've got a passion, a lot of people are passionate in the beginning and then it
Yeah.
dies out. So it's
Yeah.
your consistency plus determination, and you're gonna get better because you have that one kid who goes to the gym once a month and is just
Right.
cranking, and then he's dead and can't go back the next week because he's too tired.
Right.
So consistency, I'd say go after your passion, develop it, and don't have any expectation that you're going to be making money right off the bat.
Right.
And probably you'll need another job to be fueling your
Yeah.
passion for a little bit.
Yeah.
A few of the lucky ones have put in enough time that they can just start making money pretty quickly, and I've had quite a
Right.
few students do that over the years. You've already made
Yeah.
money off your art.
Yeah. Well, and so it's kind of a thing I've been considering recently, just like as far as what your passion is, there's always going to be a way to make money. The question is just like, can you fuel it at the same time, like time-wise?
Yeah.
Because currently I don't have time to have like a job, and I'm like very fortunate that I don't have to have like a specific job currently, and I can make money through my passions, even though I know if I suddenly did have to start paying for everything and living on my own, I probably couldn't make it just off of
Right.
that money I'm making from those. So I don't know. It's something I've just been thinking about recently. And yeah, I don't know. I've also been, I'm thinking about starting coaching at the boxing
Yeah.
place I go to, which is just like another one that's like, it's kind of that, what you were talking about earlier, as far as like find your passion and then see if you can make money off of it.
Yeah.
It's something I was interested in, and then I realized it's something I could also potentially make money off of, soon-ish, in a couple months probably, but.
Yeah, I think that's valuable. And one thing that I found is like when you find that passion and you start getting paid to do it, some people say they lose it. Like a lot of art teachers will say, I loved art, I became an art teacher, and then because I was forced to do it, the passion just kind of died.
Yeah.
So I found this in teaching. Whenever I go through and I'm making money doing this is part of my career, if I start to try to quantify how much I'm making versus how much I'm putting into it, it can get really depressing.
Gotcha.
And you can start to think your worth as an artist or as a teacher or whatever profession you're doing.
Yeah.
You might feel, I'm not making what I'm worth. Then you start to get feeling a little bit bitter. So what you can do is just think, what I'm doing, the hard work that I'm putting extra is just benefiting me.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm not making that money, I am a better teacher. I'm a better artist. I'm getting better. And in the future, those things are going to pay off, whether with monetary status or just with a better skill. So, yeah, quantifying your like boxing stuff, you're probably not going to make a ton of money off of that.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
But you're going to feel pretty accomplished, and who knows, maybe in the future you use that to transfer your teaching to another subject or whatever and make a lot more money.
So you would say it is probably worthwhile to separate your passions from your maybe not but at least it to some degree, if there's something you are very passionate about, don't necessarily quantify that by how much money you're making off of it. Interesting. Yeah, so that actually does it's something I've also been thinking about as far as like college goes. What do you so you went to college, right?
That's a really good question.
Okay, well, let's hear about
Good
it.
story. So I somehow got hired as a teacher in the public education system through it was called an ARL, alternative route of licensure. They hired me as a 21-year-old, claiming that I had 6 years experience, which is interesting because I did do the radio my sophomore year. I was 16, so that would have given a pretty I wasn't a professional, though. It's like trying to claim every kid on the radio here is a professional.
Sure. You had experience, but you weren't necessarily, Yeah,
I think I was hired out of necessity, and then I ended up teaching until about 2016, 2017. That's from 2001 until then.
Interesting.
No
so
degree.
No degree, no college.
I had a lot of college, but just no degree.
Gotcha. How long did you go to college for?
I had about 100 and something credits over what I needed for a bachelor's degree.
Wow, really?
I got twisted around. I got into like an English degree, art degree, general education, all over the place, and because they kept saying, "Oh, you actually don't need to go to college. You've got your level 1 license. You're good to go." And then I got a letter in the mail that said, "You have 3 months to be able to get completed with all your schooling." And I was like, "Oh no!" So that kind of kicked it in gear, along with my wife saying, like, "You don't have a degree and you're bragging?" Because I was like, I'm teaching high school. I've been teaching college for about 16 years. I'm good to go. I don't have a degree. I kind of feel like I've stuck it to the man. I'm kind of that underground guy that like made it. And then she just goes, "Well, you're going to be the first one they fire." Like when there's cutbacks, like you don't have the credentials. And I was like, "Oh man." So I went back to school and got a master's degree like within a year.
Wow.
So
just
from
you
no
had
degree, got a bachelor's, master's from 2017 to 2018.
In what?
I got a degree in technology engineering. Which is odd.
Technology engineering. Why is that odd?
Because I am no engineer. Everybody in my class was talking about biodiesel mechanics and like, I don't know, just talking big time physics. And I stood up and said, "Hey, I make movies. I don't know what I'm doing here." And ended up finishing it up in a year. It was fine. I just don't use anything that I learned.
Sure.
So big shout out to Utah State.
So, okay, that's interesting. So you didn't actually end up going to college, and you did end up teaching high school, which I don't know if there's anybody else here that at least at this school, that has not done that, which is a pretty crazy thing to have done.
Yeah, I think there might be a few. Like, I know that Miss Jones, she's working part-time, and she is working on going back to school and doing kind of the same route that I did. And I'm not sure where everybody else is, but yeah, for me it was a very unique place. Like, especially when I was about 21, 22, and I'd be telling people, like, you go to different like college events and they'll say, "Hey, so what do you do? What year are you in school?" And I was going to school for the first like 2 or 3 years that I was teaching, and I'd say, "Well, I always like to start it off with, well, I run a radio station." And like, a 21-year-old running a radio station? I'm like, "Oh yeah, I mean, that's kind of a side project. I'm also a high school teacher." And they're like, "What?" how are you a high school teacher? And I was like, oh, and I also coach tennis.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is nuts. And then I'd say, oh yeah, and also I'm a faculty member at UVU. And all of these weird things, I kind of felt like the Catch Me If You Can guy.
Yeah,
where
you
I was
just
faking it, but somehow still doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's something that I've heard from a lot of adults is, I don't have the experience to say this myself, but a lot of people have said where it's just like, yeah, you just kind of fake it, not necessarily fake it till you make it, but it's like no one really knows exactly what's going on. We're all just kind of pretending to some degree. And so just kind of do what you can and know, like, just full send, you know what I mean? So what would you give as far as advice to high schoolers who are now going into that like phase of college and now looking for that? So if maybe there's like a couple different types of high schoolers, but like give me a general, like, as far as just things to think through as you're going into that next like college phase.
Okay, I'll give the best that I can, considering I was the guy who took like almost 20 years to graduate.
Yeah.
Let's see. My recommendation, like, I loved going to college, taking the classes that I wanted to take. That was fun, and you got to balance how much fun do you want to have versus like how effective do you want to be?
Yeah.
Because if I was more effective, I could have easily had my degree by the time I was 22.
Yeah.
But I was taking like jewelry making class,
just out of
print making, like silk screening. Trying to remember, I had like even a one-on-one piano class, guitar class, vocal lessons, like just fun things, because I had a little scholarship through making like news for the university.
Was that the political cartoons you were talking about on our
that's
last
how
show?
I got into it.
Yeah.
So, but then I ended up making like a weekly news show.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's where I kind of got my scholarship money from. So I was like, well, I have to have 12 credits to keep the scholarship. But I was teaching full-time, coaching, and I started to think, I can't be taking these rigorous classes. So I would fill my scholarship up with these things that I was like, well, I'd love to learn how to silk screen.
Yeah.
I want to know how to make jewelry. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it'd be fun. So if you're interested in getting like moving quickly, you should probably like set some goals of, by this time I need to have these generals out of the way. But if you're in no hurry, and you've got somebody else paying your bills, it was really fun. To go in there and just like mess around and take like every single PE class that they had.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because obviously a lot of the draw for college at this point is the college experience. That's a big thing people talk about, as far as just gaining life experience as well as education, as well as, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot less now about the degree. You know what I mean? As far as when people are now telling you like reasons to go to college, I feel like it used to be 100% you're going so you can get your degree, so you can get the job, so you can whatever. And now it's the push for that is a lot more, the degree, obviously you go for a degree, but a lot of it's just getting life experience. Do you think there's any other way to get that life experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's shifted, like you said.
Yeah.
There's that huge debate of like, do you go to college? Do you not go to college? People who go to college often have that debt and still can't find the job. But getting the experience, it's a fine line. People that leave this program and go into like marketing or whatever. I've got friends who have gone on with not a lot of college experience and are making really big things and have kind of done it on their own. But I've also had students go to film school, had them go to different places. And I think the huge benefit if you're going into like a creative market, like if you go to BYU's advertising program, they've got an advertising lab where you get to collaborate with professionals. You get to work on projects with professionals.
For advertising, was your saying.
For advertising. And you're going to connect with these people. And those connections, those are the most powerful things that you're going to get from your college experience. You're going to learn a lot along the way, but your connection is what is going to get you your job. But those connections can also be forged by starting, like to go out on a production and be just like somebody who's hauling around C-stands for a music video. And you make connections, you start getting into like making movies with people. And then out of nowhere, like if you're easy to work with, you might get sent to do like a documentary someplace, and you spend a month with a crew.
Yeah.
And you've acquired all those relationships that you would have got in college.
Uh.
But it's more, I don't know. I don't know if it's more of a guarantee. I think it all comes down to your personality. If you're easy to work with, either route can work. But if you go to college, you've kind of got a system built where your professor is setting it up, saying,
Right.
these are the people you need to talk to. This is the agency that you can go work with.
Yeah.
This is the portfolio that you will need. And it's less of a guessing game, but also the journey of somebody just going and doing on their own.
Yeah.
It's an experience that you wouldn't get if you went to college.
Yeah. Well, so you're referring to that like a little bit earlier, you were talking about that Imagine Dragons documentary you worked on. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because that is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard. Is just like that whole. I mean,
very flattering.
Yeah.
It was a lot of sleeping on an infested Las Vegas couch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll let you tell the story in a minute, but for me personally, it's just really cool to see exactly what you're talking about, where you just went out, started talking to people, and then you got to work and with these people who are now huge. I mean, everybody knows Imagine Dragons.
Yeah.
And you got to have that whole crazy experience just by being,
being
having those connections.
Having the connections was big. Also, being a high school teacher and having the whole summer off was a big deal. So there was something that used to happen all the time called the Rooftop Concert Series, where in Provo, just off Center Street, they'd have a bunch of bands, and you'd go to the third level of this parking garage, and they'd just have the coolest local bands.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and I was helping film something for one of my friends. And afterward, his name's Isaac Holosima, and a former DJ of KPGR. And so he said, hey, I'm going to go down to Las Vegas. We're going to film the recording of I think it was called Night Visions, the first album, full album of Imagine Dragons. And said, would you be willing to be able to go down and film this thing?
Yeah.
It's like, yes. It's like, I don't have a lot of money to give you. But it was mainly he liked working with me. We were friends. I'd worked on other projects with him, and there's a huge thing about having a good crew. Like we did the Real Salt Lake If You Believe chant. We released that video, so they played it on the scoreboard for the first time. I was in the background with my camera in one of the shots, one of my claims to glory. But because I was easy to work with, I'd go pick up bags. I would carry all their equipment and just try to be laugh at jokes and try to make it pleasant. He's like, you would be perfect. And it meant that I'd have to share a room with him for a month. And I personally would rather share a room with somebody less talented who I can get along with very easily.
Sure.
But also somebody who's easy to train how to do the stuff. So I think I got the job over somebody who was more qualified because I was a lot easier to work with than some of these people that get into film and video, and they have really big egos. My ego was like this big.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's funny. Well, and so that's another thing that's interesting. It's a tougher thing, I think, to learn to be easy to work with. What are some strategies you think you could implement or give advice to people who are trying to implement that?
Oh man, you're asking these questions, and I'm sitting here feeling like you're looking to me as the authority.
Yeah.
Where I'm like probably the last person who should be giving huge advice because I don't know. To become easy to work with, I think it goes to what I said earlier. Let that ego just come down. And don't take yourself too seriously. Like if you're doing something and you mess up, and somebody calls you out on it, you've got a choice to be like, "Oh, hey, thanks. Like I appreciate it. That helps out a lot." Versus, whatever. I know how to do that. If you give them the whatever answer, it's not going to be as easy for them to come back. Because they're going to get that feeling. And if you just think you're better than people, this is a life lesson. You are not better than anybody. Only it only hurts you if you think that you're better than somebody. Yeah.
Well, this reminds me of I'm sure you've read the book. I think I've actually seen it in in the back room, but How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah.
By it doesn't matter.
Stephen
Anyway,
R.
yeah,
Covey.
everybody is that who it's by? I thought it was Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
I thought so.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But it's what you were saying there kind of is similar to a lot of stuff he said in the book, where it's like whenever you mess up, just absolutely like apologize quickly and absolutely just
And you hear
don't
that.
try and defend yourself. Just absolutely like take responsibility for whatever it was. And then
Yeah,
just,
I think that's huge.
yeah.
Like knowing how to do that, and that's being repeated still today as like new theories
Yeah.
of like take extreme ownership.
Mm.
And I think that's like my New Year's resolution is I'm so quick
Yeah.
to blame other people, especially when I'm driving. I'm like, that guy did this, and now I'm angry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually a funny thing I saw online. I don't know if you. Oh, no, that.
Series documenting this whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know if you. I'm trying to debate whether. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Have you heard of Andrew Tate? Because he was the most famous person of last year. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
I have no idea who Andrew Tate is.
That's really funny. Anyway, one of his big things is one of his like messages is take extreme ownership and just absolutely like no matter what happens, even if it is out of your control, if you're taking ownership for it, you'll be better because of it. That being said, I don't condone everything he says. Just let that be known.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that kind of stuff is just I think something I think is kind of a thing people overlook a lot. So as far as college goes, what other advice might you have for? Do you think it's worth people to go to the more expensive and prestigious colleges, or do you think it's worth, if people are going to go pursue a degree, is it worth just going to whatever college is convenient or cheaper or whatever just to get to the degree?
Okay, this one's tough because I recommend if you are going to go to college, do your very best at whatever college you're going to, and you can work your way up to whatever position wherever you start. But if you want to give yourself a really great advantage, if you've got the means, if you've got the capability to go to that more prestigious college, it's going to give you some benefit.
Yeah.
The difference between going to like a Harvard versus a UVU.
Yeah.
And you go through the business school and you go try to get hired at a firm, you are definitely going to be overlooked if you've got somebody going to Harvard with a degree there.
Right.
But with that being said, it comes down to how well you interview, how personable you are, like all those things. I just say wherever you go, make sure that you plant yourself and you do your very best, because there are standouts in every single university that have exceeded everyone's expectations and have become fantastic in whatever field they go into.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I had the chance to go to a really high-level school, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I had a scholarship to UVU because I made a left-handed half-court shot.
Yeah.
When they're throwing out degrees like they were not degrees, but scholarships like they're candy. So
that's funny. Yeah, no, they really do throw scholarships out like they're candy now. I've got like 4 of them that I never even applied for. They're just like, hey, you applied for this college, and because of that, we'd like to give you a scholarship. And
because
you're like,
you clicked on this link
exactly.
and spun the wheel,
yeah, exactly.
You now have a 2-year degree.
Congratulations, you just won $35,000.
To Utah Tech University, formerly known as.
Yeah. Yeah. No. What do you think as far as we were talking earlier about ways that you could get that college experience, or not necessarily college experience, but just life experience without college? What advice would you give to somebody trying to get that, as opposed to the person trying to go pursue a degree?
Anybody can start wherever you are, whether you're a high school student, junior high, if you've been graduated for 10, 15, 20 years. It's a matter of taking what you want to do and just start doing it at whatever level you can. Also, documenting what you've done helps you learn faster. Like if you're learning an instrument, you can play for 10 years and become pretty good, but if you play for like just 1 year, you're recording yourself and going back and dissecting your errors, you're going to get better. So if you're going to get into filmmaking, go make a film. If you're going to do a short film, it's way easier if you've started and made a couple bad ones than to do a whole bunch of the preparation, try to make it perfect.
Yeah.
Then you go out there and you make it a big thing and you have no experience. You've got a greater likelihood of failing at it. So.
But what about, so for like making those connections, like those connections to people in the industry, people who you look up to, that kind of thing?
Okay. I've had a lot of people come to me, even though like I would consider myself such a small, like filmmaker, creator. Like it's so small, but because I teach at UVU and I had some night classes and I showed some of the work that I worked on. Students would be like, "Wow, what you do is huge," and they put me up here like, "This is really big," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I was like the third cameraman."
Yeah.
On the behind the scenes on a huge music video. And they'd ask, like, anytime you're doing a project, can I be on it? And that's the questions that you need to be asking of those that you think, I want to learn what they know how to do. Whether they're huge or small, you can learn from everybody. So if you've got somebody that you're just like, they're awesome. If there's an artist in your area and you're like, they're great, ask if you can go and paint and draw with them.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody who's great in business, go sit with them
Yeah.
and say, what can I do to help you? The biggest thing you can do is offer value to people rather than, like, the thing that I don't think works all that well is like, hey, let me take you to lunch and pick your brain.
Yeah.
Like, people get that all the time. And that's an okay step, but the better thing would be, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
And then you'll end up learning a lot more by offering your services.
Right. Sorry, let me see. So many text messages. Doesn't matter. What was I saying? You've obviously been working on that new. It's a podcast, right? With Colby, right?
Yeah. This one's really fun.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit? Because I think it's a pretty interesting project.
Yeah. So this all stemmed. I'm getting way too personal on a lot of these things.
Oh yeah.
Like my whole background of teaching, like not a lot of people know that I didn't come into this the traditional way, but I ended up starting to run and try to get into shape with a whole bunch of different things that happened. One was like getting a vision board lesson from Elise Jones, who's a professional pickleball player. She used to be a health teacher here. She quit teaching to go play professionally.
Wow.
And that was just I think last year. And she's fantastic. Had some people that ran marathons and qualified for the Boston Marathon, a guy named Jaron Christensen. And then what spearheaded a lot of it as well is I went to the doctor and they said, you've got high cholesterol. And I was like, high cholesterol? Like, I'm in great shape. I run to school every single day. Like, I feel like I'm in great shape. And then I started to look, and the doctor said that I needed to lose like 50 pounds. And I was like, 50 pounds? How could I lose 50 pounds? And I just had that whole feeling of like I'm in shape when I wasn't. And so I finally started to kick it into gear and started running a whole bunch. And then I was running a race. It was the Halloween half marathon, and I saw Colby running that. And so we made a connection there of like, hey, we run.
Yeah.
And then I found out he started to do some ultra marathons, which is anything over 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
And so he did that as like a 15 or 16-year-old.
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is impressive.
Yeah.
And now he's pushing the limits, and he's running a 50-miler coming up in a couple weeks. And if he does well on that one, his parents are allowing him to do a 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Which for a 17-year-old will be insane.
That's crazy.
We've done a little bit of research, and we're not exactly sure if this is 100%, but he's one of like 10 teenagers to run an ultra marathon that's 100 miles.
Yeah. Like in the United States, or
I think
just ever run an actual,
I think
like
in
an official
the United
marathon?
States races. I'm sure that there are people across the world that have done it. But his story is pretty interesting, and so we started to piece together like an Instagram account that's called Ultra Young or Young Ultra. Ultra Young. Well, I should know this.
Yeah. That's how I feel every time I say go follow the Instagram. I'm like, the name is.
It's
search around. I don't remember.
It's an orange circle of Colby running.
Yeah.
So yeah, his story is really fun, and we've decided we're going to be doing the first podcast recording, I think, Thursday of this week.
That's cool.
And the goal is to be able to talk about his nutrition, his training, the motivation that it takes to be able to get up every single day. It's the same for everybody who does anything above and beyond the average. If you're going to get up and work out, if you're going to get up and run, but he gets up and will run, and his training's like, he sent me a message over the weekend. He's like, just finished my training. I'm going to upload to the Instagram. And he sends me his stats, and it's like, just ran 26.9 or whatever miles.
Yeah.
Like, here are the stats. And I'm like, wow, you just ran like a marathon for your training.
Yeah, that's
incredible.
Crazy.
So yeah, we're going to get that going out, and I think I'm co-hosting it mainly just to be able to, like, I don't know, get him started.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that he can start to get people to sponsor his podcast and get some recognition for the hard work that he's putting in, because it's pretty rare to get somebody to do that. And runners love to hear about other runners.
Yeah.
People who don't run could not care any less for like, hey, I ran 13 miles today. Like, oh, congratulations. I don't care.
Well, it's tough, I think, for people to quantify in their brain, because a lot of people don't run anything more than a mile or two.
Yeah.
And so someone saying they ran 13 miles versus someone saying they ran 50, you're like, it's just, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I wouldn't run any further than my house to the car if it's raining. That's the only time that I'd do it. So
that's funny.
Yeah, but he's incredible, and he's got a great story. So we're gonna get that out there, and I figure we're gonna target those that are into running, and we're gonna learn about nutrition as we go, because I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And I've got a goal of being able to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So I've got a lot of different things in place, hoping to accomplish that. Just so, I don't know. Mostly it's just to be able to say I did it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't even know if I like running.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'd love to either sit in on a podcast or eventually be on it, because I've gotten into a lot of the nutrition side of, like, weightlifting and that kind of stuff, but I don't know how well it translates to, I mean, I know the basics of it all, and I want to see how it translates into running, because it is a different, you would eat different if you were running as opposed to trying to put on muscle, and that's an interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the carbs for running versus the proteins of lifting.
Right.
Yeah.
But then is there also proteins anyway? That's a whole thing.
We'll get into
exactly,
it.
Yeah. Anyway, my friend's been texting my Apple Watch has been blowing up for the past like 5 minutes, so I'm probably pretty sure I need to leave. But let's see. Somebody texted in that they can get me a job at a mattress store,
yes,
so that's cool.
Yes.
And then he says, okay, I'm back. What I missed, DJ Shades, you do a lot of Yep, that's true. DJ Shades has self-proclaimed PhD in nutrition because he listens to some guy's podcast. Ask him about the pre-workout that he gave the other DJ. I do have a self-proclaimed PhD. That's exactly the right way to put it. From Andrew Huberman. Also, someone texted in CrossFit 3 times. The answer is no.
CrossFit.
No, absolutely not. We're going to end the show there. Thank you for coming on. This has been an awesome episode. And up next, we're going to have the song that interrupted me 4 different times during this one, Strawberry Swing by Coldplay. Yeah.